Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, Chaos Kids. I'm Amber.
And I'm Naomi, and this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Hello. I can't stop dancing now. I've got
wow.
I've got the wiggles.
Getting the demons out?
I mean, it's kind of been the theme of my weekend. I'll tell you what.
Oh, no. Tell me. You had the demons?
Well, I mean, no, I just, I had kind of a rough day the other day, and I made a kind of a last minute decision to just pack a giant bag and GTFO for a few days. So I headed over to Vashon Island for a couple of nights and spent some time with one of my besties. And then I left on a ferry yesterday and headed down to the middle of nowhere and spent another night with another bestie and got what I needed. Yeah, I got what I needed.
Good.
Some double bestie time and regrouped. Like, it's that thing where, like, it's kind of like when we do Sissy Weekend or like when we did the Cousin Weekend. It's kind of that thing where you just immerse yourself in time and space with people who, like, know exactly who you are and love exactly who you are. And you can just totally be you. And it's just chill and relaxed. And there's nothing like it.
I know.
And it really just like grounds me and centers me and takes me back to myself,
That's good. Everyone needs that every once in a while.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What about you?
I was thinking that I just had this conversation with Michael today, actually, about my thing is like, if I do any kind of staycation, then I just am really doing other work that is at home. You know what I'm saying?
I do know.
Yeah. I was like, we need a 3-day weekend. And I seriously am going to put out a PSA. Like, unless you're on fire, don't call me.
That's right.
Because the other thing too is like when people think you're not working, somehow that translates to like you're available to them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Yeah. And I need it's just, so I feel you, sister. It's been a lot.
Yep.
I need some time.
That's
just in my near future. Yeah.
Just to mellow.
Oh, yeah.
I love that for you. I want that for you. I hope you get that soon. What are you drinking today?
Thank you for asking. I am drinking. Listen, I don't usually drink white, but I had this open because I made this really yummy like white wine Parmesan sauce the other night, and
you're bougie.
It was so good. Anyway, so I'm drinking this Luz Maria. It's a white blend from Chile.
From Chile.
It's pretty delish.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad. I love that for you. Should we just like get into it?
we have
a new Chaos Kid Club member.
We do, and I wanted to say thank you. You go ahead.
It's Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie. We love you.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the Chaos Kids Club. We are like, we shouldn't overlook that Michael and Allison also joined the Chaos Kids Club. It's easy to overlook when people we know and love do the thing because, that they're being supportive, but that counts. So right now, I think we're at six Chaos Kid Club members.
There's no way to know.
There's no way to know.
It's a crapshoot.
6 or 7. I think we're at 7 because I think in my mind I remember thinking we need 3 more Chaos Kids Club members, and we will schedule a virtual wine night, and we will all hang out and get fucking chaotic together.
It's going to be epic.
So good. Or it's just going to be ridiculous. But either way, we're doing it. So
yeah.
Get on over to the Patreon. It's $5 a month. Get some bonus content, and then you can hang out with us once in a while on a virtual wine night. Yeah. So, okay.
Yes.
Is there something else you were going to say? Or did I get it?
You got it, sister. Pulled that right out of my brain.
Okay. Great. Love that. Let's get into a crime.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, I'm going to tell you about Louise Evans. We're going to the UK. Just to be clear, this is not the Louise Evans who was murdered by her husband, because that story kept coming up when I was trying to find articles about this story. This is a different Louise Evans who was also murdered in the UK.
Jesus.
So Louise Bethany Evans was born November 26th, 1990. I think it was 1990 because I had to actually do the math to figure out what her birth year was, because it wasn't actually cited anywhere, but her birth date was and her age was. So I think she was born in 1990. Her parents are named Lorraine and Jeff Evans, her birth parents. When she was 13, she moved to Rossendale to live with foster parents. Now, I never found out in all my research why she went to live with foster parents when she was 13. I'm not really sure. Later on in the story, there's definitely, like a commentary cited from her biological parents, like after her murder and like the trial of her murderers and all that. So they were still around and loved her and cared for her, but she lived for a time with Raymond and Yvonne Peel.
Okay.
So when she was 13, she attended Park High School in Cologne. And then when she was 14, they moved to Richmond Avenue in Haslingden with her foster parents. She lived with them for 4.5 years, and she went to Haslingden High until she was 18. Haslingden is just about 20 miles north of Manchester, which is kind of like right in the middle of the island of England and Wales.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when she turned 18, she left foster care. She aged out of foster care.
Right.
So she was 18. It was July of 2009, and she had just finished the first year of a course in childcare at Accrington and Rossendale College. And she was living in, well, some articles call it a hostel and some articles called it a homeless shelter. Her adopted parents said that she chose to live there to be more independent. But I also read in one of the articles that the courts had placed her there. So I'm wondering if maybe because she was in foster care and somehow she was being cared for or tracked or whatever, like had a case of some kind with the state, that when she turned 18, she was eligible for some kind of resources to help her, like, get on her feet as an adult. And so maybe she applied for a place to live and they were helping her by placing her in that shelter. She had Asperger's, and she was really trying to make her way in the world on her own. And according to her foster sister, when she turned 18 and left foster care, she was living at this place, Elizabeth Street Project in Burnley. While she was waiting for a flat to be ready for her. So I feel like somewhere in all of that, it was like she probably, like, she aged out of foster care, but she was still eligible for some kind of state assistance. So maybe she applied for like an apartment of some kind. And while she was waiting to be placed in an apartment, they gave her they put her in this shelter or this hostel,
transitional housing.
Yes, exactly. So, some more info on Louise as a person. I have a lot of like quotes pulled from all over the place. So these are all quotes that people said about Louise. Louise was a smart, funny girl who had a lot of potential in life. You could always count on her to cheer you up or make you laugh. There was never a dull moment when you were around Louise.
Oh, she sounds like one of us.
Yeah. She studied hard and progressed well while also forming great relationships with close friends. Louise was a loving and special daughter. She was a lovely girl, really friendly and chatty. She was so happy and cheerful. I mean, this is what everybody says about her. Everyone who knew her. Honestly, the more I read about her and like the kind of person she was, it was kind of like she reminded me a lot of myself.
Oh,
and like the way people would describe me. Yeah. Laughing all the time, really loud, high energy, really bubbly. So on the evening of July 20th, Louise and 5 others from the hostel / shelter or whatever, they went out for a night of drinking and cavorting on the town, right?
Yeah. Fun.
And the first part of the evening, there were 5 others with them who were not staying at the shelter. So there was like 10, like I would say older teens / young adults, right?
Okay.
I think they ranged in age from like 17 to 20 or 21, something like that. 2 of the young men among that group were Anthony Wood, who was 21, and Matthew Ma, who was 19. And they had arrived at the shelter at the same time as Louise, which was about 2 weeks prior to this night.
Okay.
And they had all become friends along with the other, like a bunch of others that were there. So this group of teens and young adults leave the hostel early in the evening, and they're, gallivanting about, right? Just as a group, I'm sure, walking around and who knows, right? Just like being young adults and having a good time. And Louise asks Wood to buy her some alcohol. And there was kind of like it was described as a bit of an argument ensued. And from what I could gather, Wood just didn't want to buy alcohol for her. Maybe she pestered him about it and he told her to shut up. I don't know. Like they kind of got into it about that because he wouldn't buy the alcohol. So the group was out and about. They were having a good time. And Louise was being Louise. She was loud, energetic, and bubbly. And she was laughing because she was always down for a good time, right? So after the larger group were done hanging out and drinking, they'd hung out like canal side. Those who lived at the hostel returned to the building because there was an 11 p.m. curfew.
Oh.
They had to be in by 11, right?
All right.
Which is pretty common at shelters.
Yeah.
But they had broken the no alcohol rule. So they weren't allowed to stay at the hostel that night.
Oh.
So Wood went to his room to gather some things. And when he did, he put some food in his bag, but he also put a knife in his bag before leaving.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, later it was like a kitchen knife or something. Later he would claim that it was for his food. It was for like cutting the food that he was bringing with him.
Okay.
So now the plan becomes they're going to go back out and they're going to keep drinking and they're just going to find some place in town to basically like drink and crash for the night.
Like
right?
outside?
Yeah. I mean, it's
okay.
July, so it's, maybe the weather's decent.
Okay, sure.
So Wood is kind of leading this group. And he takes them to an abandoned bowling alley that's close by. It's locally known as the Rubbles. And they were going to basically break into this abandoned building and they were going to stay there for the night. Okay. But they couldn't get into the building. Like they were trying and they couldn't break in. So then he's like, okay, well, we're going to go to Townley Park. And so he takes them to Townley Park and said, we'll stay here tonight. And Townley Park is like really big. It's got like a bunch of like, it's got definitely got like big. I saw a video of like somebody walking around in the space. There's like definitely like big areas that are like just grassy, really, really big. Think like St. Edwards, like really big, giant grassy areas, but then also surrounded by like woods. And there's buildings there in different spots on this property, right? There's Townley Hall, which I imagine is kind of like some old kind of stone building.
Sure. Yeah.
And then there's also like, there's like this outdoor amphitheater or something they call like, I think of it as an amphitheater. They called it a bandstand.
Okay.
Right. So it's like an outdoor kind of theater space. And it's down this path surrounded by woods. And he says, you know what, we're going to just go hang out on this bandstand and we're going to drink and we'll just hang out here for the night. But like, it was dark. And like I said, like a lot of the areas they were walking through were like, like wooded and there was like thick underbrush and that kind of stuff. Right. And Louise was really not a fan of this plan because she was actually afraid of the dark and she didn't really want to go to the park at all, let alone like deep into the area of the amphitheater surrounded by the woods.
Right. That so reminds me of my youth. Drinking in the woods, but also being sort of creeped out because you're in the woods at night and like not wanting to. I was always the Louise in the group. Like this doesn't feel safe.
Right.
I don't want to be here. I want to go home and be in my bed.
Right. But she couldn't, right?
Yeah.
She couldn't go home and be in a bed. So she was kind of like, this is what she had.
Oh God.
So they all head that way. And according to court records, Wood had been getting annoyed with Louise pretty much all night. He'd been annoyed with her. And he had said more than once that he was pissed at her for being her. He was pissed at her for being bubbly and happy and laughing and being loud and like having a good time.
What a dick.
Yeah, totally. He's quoted as saying, "She's doing my head in by being noisy."
Okay. And
he told a member of the group that Louise, who was being loud and bouncing around, was winding him up with her behavior, and he would kill her if she carried on.
Oh, because that's what you do when somebody annoys you. You kill them.
That's right.
You're in this huge open area where you could walk away and have quiet basically anywhere.
Right.
What a fucking piece of shit. Okay.
And he mentions this multiple times over the course of the night to different members of this group of 10 people.
And what are these 10 people saying? Like,
they're
get it together?
No, they're all kind of like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, they think he's just being hyperbolic, right? That he's just being like dramatic.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So at some point along the way, Wood tells Ma that he wants to kill Louise and Ma needs to make it happen.
What?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as they approach the amphitheater, Wood and Ma basically lure Louise away from the group, and they take her off the path into a small clearing amongst some of the trees.
Oh, God.
So once they've separated her from the others, Ma attacks her with the kitchen knife that Wood had thrown in his bag. This is bad. This is bad. So he cuts her throat. And he stabs her multiple times. And Louise is screaming.
Oh.
And she is begging Ma to stop. And the others in the group, like, they hear what's going on. They kind of sort of run in that general direction to see what's happening. And I think they're so freaked the fuck out. Like, at first, they don't understand what's going on. They think someone else has come into the group, like some stranger is doing something.
Oh, yeah.
And there's definitely different accounts and different articles of like who saw what and who didn't. And it's very like hard to really nail it down. But definitely one of them saw something because they started like crying and hysterically, and they were like retching.
Oh, my God. And it's probably really dark, right? So
It's dark. They're not sure what's going on, right? And as Ma continues to stab Louise, the knife gets lodged in her chest and the handle breaks off.
Oh my God.
And this knife is like stuck in her. So one witness said that they heard Ma ask out loud if there was a brick anywhere.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And Wood is heard saying, "No, if there was, I would do it myself."
What is wrong with these you and your teenage boys? I don't know.
I know. Well, these guys, 19 and 21, close enough. So not finding a brick anywhere, Ma just grabs a big piece of wood or like a giant tree branch, and he proceeds to beat Louise with it.
No.
And I think it's around this time that the three not murderers are like running away. Because one of the young women said she shined the light of her mobile phone on Ma and Wood, and she said she saw them grinning as Louise laid on the ground with blood all over her face.
Oh my God.
One of the other witnesses told detectives that he heard Louise scream before he heard a crushing sound and up to 30 large thuds.
Oh my God. This is so awful.
It's the worst. So cell phone light gal, her boyfriend, and a third like unnamed minor, I think it's like the 17-year-old, they went to get help and call an ambulance. And as they were leaving, they continued to hear Louise scream and described it as horrible and piercing.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine what I would do in that situation.
Me either.
I can't even imagine.
Me either.
Oh my
and
God.
Wood is like egging Ma on to do all of this. He's just standing there, and Ma is doing, like Matthew Ma is doing all of this. Wood never touched Louise.
Wow.
Even though he's the one that brought the knife and he was the one that talked all night about killing her.
So what is this guy like the ringleader? Is he like the one that everybody thinks is fucking awesome? Like what's
I don't know.
Oh, this is really upsetting.
I'm sorry, sister.
It's okay.
So police arrive, medics are right behind them, and at 1:40, it's at like 1:40 a.m. and Louise was still alive when the police got there.
No.
Some of her front teeth had been knocked out. She had 39 injuries to her head and neck with additional wounds to her chest and arms.
Oh my God.
And she passed away shortly after the police arrived, but before the paramedics got there.
Oh, God.
It was determined that the blows to her head would have sent her into unconsciousness, but before that happened, she asphyxiated on her own blood.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. This is fucking horrific.
I know.
This poor girl.
I know.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Police questioned Wood at the scene, and he denied even threatening to kill Louise. He said the whole attack was all Matthew Ma. He had nothing to do with it. And when he tried to stop Ma from attacking Louise, Ma struck him too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. This guy is.
So wait till you'll see their pictures and you'll just, yeah.
Want to hit them in the face with a tree branch?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So I guess all 5 of these people were rounded up over the next day or 2 or something. That's a little bit gray. I can't quite figure that out, but they were all questioned. And Ma was arrested at his dad's house and Wood was arrested when he returned to the shelter.
He just went back home for night?
At some point, yeah.
Okay. God, this guy...
I think that he thought that he couldn't get in any trouble because he didn't do any of the actual murdering. I think that he thought that he was off the hook because he didn't touch her.
Wow. Yeah, he also stood there and grinned and egged him on and didn't help her.
That's right. And he was really fucking wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
So Ma crumbled instantly and admitted to killing Louise.
Mm-hmm.
Case closed with that guy. But Wood pled not guilty, and he denied any culpability in Louise's murder all the way to the bitter end.
What the fuck? Who is this fucking vile human? What is...
I did not get any real backstory on these guys.
Jesus Christ.
It's weird. These dudes are referred to a lot in the UK press as thugs, which clearly has a different connotation in the UK than it does in the States. Because these are 2 very white boys, and it's... I don't know. They use thugs in a very different way than we do here.
Okay. Well,
it's apparently not a dog whistle in the UK like it is here.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So in January of 2010, which would be like 6 months after Louise's murder, Wood goes to trial. It lasts 2 weeks. And the jury heard from the defense how Wood never touched Louise, so he couldn't be convicted of her murder. The jury deliberated for 9 hours and disagreed and handed down a guilty verdict.
Good.
Wood. Ma had already pled guilty, so and like prior to the start of Wood's trial, but then they were both sentenced after Wood's trial.
Oh, did he testify at his trial?
I didn't read that he testified at his trial. Ma was sentenced to a minimum of 18 years, 63 days to life.
That's very specific.
Yeah, they do that there. It's very specific.
Okay.
Wood was sentenced to a minimum of 22 years, 183 days to life.
Oh, so he even got the larger sentence.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Good.
Even though he did not touch her.
Yeah, that's not how this works, Wood.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Following the verdict, Detective Inspector Paul Broxson of Lancashire Police said, quote, "I have 23 years of service, and this was by far the most horrific incident I have had to deal with. I have never seen such injuries inflicted on a human being. For Ma and Wood, I have nothing but contempt. They are both very dangerous individuals." End quote.
Yeah. God. And what? Because they thought she was annoying?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
I know.
Wow. I don't understand.
I don't either. A little over a year after their sentencing, Wood was back in court to challenge his murder conviction, claiming the trial judge gave the jurors flawed directions on how to approach key areas of evidence.
Oh, did he now? Did they?
Yeah, he
now?
did. Mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm. The judge rejected this appeal. He found nothing wrong with the judge's directions to the jurors.
Mm-hmm.
Wood and Ma also both challenged their minimum sentencing terms, and the judge did reduce Ma's sentence on the grounds that he pled guilty and also because of his youth and immaturity.
Oh.
The judge upheld Wood's sentencing because of his key role in instigating Louise's murder.
God, his plan just keeps backfiring on him.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Lorraine and Jeff Evans, Louise's parents, said she had complex needs but was, quote, special and loved dearly. We are lost and empty and in disbelief that somebody could do this. There is a void in our lives that will never be filled. And that is the story of the murder of Louise Bethany Evans.
Jesus Christ, sister. That was horrible.
I know. I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
Fucking teenagers. I know. I can't not.
At least the other ones that were there ran for help.
Yes, and were mortified and retching and crying and freaking out like, what the fuck is happening? They weren't like joining in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the two psychopaths.
Oh my God. That's so awful. I can't even imagine what I would do if I was in that situation.
Me either. It's just horrible.
Do you think that you would run for help or run into the chaos and try and stop?
Oh my God. I don't know. I know that like I've been in situations before where I've seen violence happening, and I think I am more often than not, which I think is weird because I don't expect it of me. I have the doe response. So like the couple of times that I've been witness to extreme violence, like right in front of me, I have that like, there's fight or flight and then there's freeze. I'm a freeze person.
Yeah.
At least I have been historically.
Yeah. It seems like too, because there was 3 of them that were the normal teenagers, right?
Right.
Seems like
I think so. Yeah.
3 people could have maybe
stepped in. Although they were also all drinking, like they were not in like a good state of mind to make good decisions to begin with, right? Like they're slow to respond and slow to understand what's going on, and
No, totally. No, I mean, I'm sure they did the best they could. I mean,
at least they did run to try and get her help.
Yeah. That is so fucking awful.
I'm like, how could they know that what was happening was so horrific that it was like going to kill Louise?
Yeah.
Like, even if they thought that there was something brutal going on, like I can't, it's that thing we've talked about before. It's really hard for us to wrap our brains around the notion that like someone could be someone we know who we think of as a friend or a family member, whatever, right, is like brutally murdering somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like they might have thought there was a fight or a commotion or something, but like the idea that like that she was being murdered, like maybe that didn't even occur to them.
It probably didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like how you couldn't even imagine that was what would be going on.
No.
We were just having a fun time drinking together. All of a sudden we're murdering somebody.
Yeah. But also I think like what he packed that knife, like that to me is premeditated. Like
absolutely.
What food was he like? Just a knife, nothing else, no food, no fork, no plate, no, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. That's awful.
Also, like, how did he even have a knife at the shelter? You would imagine at those places that, like, anything that even remotely resembles, like, a weapon in your personal belongings would be, like, contraband or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if you can't come back because you've been drinking,
then you have no business, like, being allowed to have a knife in your room.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. I fucking hated that, sister.
I'm sorry. There you go. That's what I got for you.
Well, I don't even know how to pivot from that.
Let's just like it's like in Hollywood and there's like just take 2, just like snap.
Oh,
and now we're chaos.
Now we're chaos. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Well, I am going to tell you a chaos story here. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to be like, is this going to like take us out of the downer bummer?
I thought it would be until I did the story. And then I was like, this is kind of sad. So anyway.
Great. You know what? It's been a while. It's been a while since we've done a double Debbie Downer.
Double Debbie Downer. Here we go.
It's been a while since we've done a triple D. So let's go.
All right.
It was bound to happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you the story of Milli Vanilli.
Oh, no. This is a bummer. Amber. Oh, no. Because I know how this sort of ends.
It's sad.
Oh.
I know.
Okay. Are you going to go into like the whole who Milli Vanilli is? Because I'm positive there are listeners who will not know who the fuck Milli Vanilli is.
Okay. Well, Milli Vanilli was fucking epic. Do you know how I thought of this? Okay. Well, this is going to be one of those like rabbit holes. So I love a rabbit hole. Let's go. This is so ridiculous. So we were having a conversation, me and Michael and Jade. I don't even know how we got on the topic about what we're willing to eat and what we're not willing to eat because, Jade is very adventurous. She's eaten like frog and pig ears and like all the things, right?
Good for her.
Yeah. And Michael was like, well, would you do something like that dips your toe in weird, like bison or elk? And then I was like, oh, let me tell you about the elk story. And I told him about
elk story.
Okay. So when we were little kids,
yes.
My mom's biological dad had gone hunting and brought us a bunch of elk. And
it wasn't just that he brought us a bunch of elk. He actually came to our house with the elk, and Dad and Mom helped him like process like half an elk in our kitchen because we had a meat grinder for some reason. Don't ask me why.
Doesn't matter. No, there's no way to know.
So we had like there was like steaks and whatever cuts and roasts, and then there was like the ground up like elk burger, and it was all wrapped and everything. And then like for their support and effort and help, he left us with a bunch of elk.
A bunch
yes. of elk.
And we had one of those deep freezers in the basement. And we had an unfinished basement that was all concrete.
Yes, we did. Yes,
and so
we did.
It was normal practice for us to plug in our boombox and pop in Milli Vanilli and roller skate in the basement.
That's exactly right.
In order to do that, we had to unplug the deep freeze, and then we went out of town.
We did, and no one knows who, one of the three children, either you or me or Marissa, did not plug the deep freezer back in after we plugged in the boombox. And we got back from a week-long family vacation.
Oh, God.
In the middle of summer in Seattle, where it gets warm, but not warm enough to justify like something like air conditioning in a house. So the house was very warm.
Oh, God. Oh, I could still... It's like still in my nose.
And then Mom was so pissed off. And because we couldn't be blamed. Like one of us couldn't be blamed. We were all blamed. And that meant that the three of us were responsible for cleaning the elk out of this fucking freezer.
It was dead bodies. Fucking dead bodies.
Dead bodies.
I've never smelt something like that before, and I hope I never do.
So bad.
Yeah, so that's what I think of when I think of elk. So moral of the story is hard no to eating that, and also so worth it because we were roller skating to Milli Vanilli.
We were totally roller skating to Milli Vanilli, and now Amber's going to tell us the story of Milli Vanilli.
All right. Oh God. So, are you okay?
Did you watch like a VH1 behind the music episode for this? Like, how did we?
Well, it just made me. That's how I thought of Milli Vanilli. But I did watch, which I had forgotten about because I think I was too young to understand or appreciate, there's an hour-long, it's on YouTube, where they did a press conference after.
They did an hour-long press conference?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I missed that. Okay.
Oh,
well, let's get into it, sister. I am excited.
Okay. So we've got Robert Pilatus and Fabrice Morveau. We are going to call them Rob and Fab from this point on.
Rob and Fab.
Mm-hmm. They met in Munich. Fab was born in 1966 to parents who were from the Caribbean, but were raised in Paris.
Oh.
Yeah. He was once a gymnast, but was injured in a trampoline accident, so he took up dancing.
Remember when Mom didn't ever want us to be on trampolines because she had a friend in high school who landed wrong on his neck on a trampoline in gym class and was paralyzed for life from the neck down?
Yeah. Do you remember how your friend Becky Brown got a trampoline in her backyard and her parents made us bring up like permission slips to go on it?
To go on it? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So worth it. I was like, I'll fucking break my neck on this thing. This is
Hell
fun.
Yeah.
It's like when the other person bounces just right and you get airborne.
Yes.
That's the stuff right there. Yeah. Oh, man. Look at us. Roller skating.
Trampolines.
Yeah. Yesterday I cleaned my house and I woke up this morning and had to take ibuprofen because I felt like I'd been in a minor car accident. And all I did was clean.
It's a different time now, Amber.
Yeah. Things have changed. Oh my God. Okay. So he moves to Munich, Germany at the age of 18. He had seen Rob several times in like the Munich club scene, and eventually the two became friends. As soon as they became friends, everyone in the club scene knew them for their dancing and their presence at the clubs.
Oh, I mean, these guys are like, it's weird. They're not related.
Mm-hmm.
They look like they're brothers.
They're very attractive.
They're very good looking men.
But also, fun fact. So obviously Fab spoke French.
Of course.
Rob spoke German, and they each spoke very little English. So they became really close friends, even though they actually couldn't really communicate with each other.
Oh, I kind of love that.
Yeah. So yeah, the two of them communicated with very, very, very little English, and basically just through their love of dancing. So
sorry, I'm just like, that's just.
I know. You dance, I dance. Let's dance
the
together.
Universal language of dance.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly right. So Rob was born in New York in 1965 to a white German mother and a Black American father. He spent the first 5 years of his life in an orphanage before being adopted by a couple from Munich.
Oh.
So Rob, they do look like brothers, but Rob is a lot fairer.
Lighter.
A lot lighter.
Yeah.
So handsome.
Yeah.
He was the one that left his hair sort of natural, like frizzy, and Fab always had the braids. Yeah.
Yes.
So he goes to Munich. He had a very difficult time growing up in Munich because he was one of very few Black people. He was called a whole lot of racist slurs at school. And it wasn't until the 1980s when artists like Michael Jackson and Prince were popular that he started to feel accepted. Yeah. At the age of 16, it was suddenly trendy to be a Black person in Germany. So then all of a sudden he was like the shit, right? Or like exotic or something.
Sure. Let me tell you how much people of color love to be called exotic.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It's like, no, I was a fucking cool person this whole time, you piece of shit. Yes.
Yep.
So he also had big dreams of fame. He modeled and danced, and he was invited to New York in 1984 for an international breakdancing contest.
Fuck yeah.
They were good fucking dancers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So during this time, Rob and Fab were earning a living as models in Munich, but they both had aspirations of having a career in music. They performed in local venues in Munich under the names Rob and Fab. And eventually they caught the attention of German music producer Frank Farian.
Okay.
We don't like Frank Farian.
Oh, I got that by kind of your tone and your face.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was looking to make money for himself, not to help out
Correct.
the talent. Yeah.
Correct.
Got you.
Yep.
Got you.
So he had a pretty established career. He was the founder of the disco group Ross Booten.
Rasputin?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had some success in Europe, and so Farian decided
I wonder if that's supposed to be like a play off of the name Rasputin.
Maybe.
Uh-huh.
They had some success, but he wanted to front the group with Caribbean models and singers. So the track consisted of singers Liz Mitchell, Marcia Barrett, Maisie Williams, Bobby Farrell, and Frank Farian himself. So he's basically fucking P. Diddy, insisting on being on albums, even though he's the producer and he can't sing.
Right. Also, are these a bunch of like white American women? Who are these? These names do not sound German to me.
I think, I don't know where they're from, but yes, they're a bunch of white women.
Okay.
Yeah. So he wanted some attractive people to be the face of the group. And he also didn't think that Bobby was a very good singer. Whatever.
Fucking Bobby. Okay.
Fucking Bobby. So he meets Robin Fab and he thinks, oh, perfect. They have good looks and they can be in this video and I can put somebody else's vocals on the track.
Okay.
So New Year's Day, 1988, Robin Fab meet Farian. They saw his studio for the first time and they were both like losing their shit because there's gold records on the wall. Later in an interview in 2017, Rob said, we walked into a trap, but we didn't know it was a trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Frank Farian plays them a demo song called Girl, You Know It's True.
Girl, you know it's true.
Ooh, ooh,
ooh. I love you.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, fucking, what a banger. But
I'm in love with you, girl. Sorry,
girl. It's the best. I know.
So good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I want to go listen to Milli Vanilli right now.
Me too. We'll wrap this up and then we'll do that. Don't roller skate though. We've aged out.
No. Last time I roller skated, I landed on my ass and I basically bruised my tailbone. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bad time. Mm-hmm. I couldn't sit for a couple of days. No, we're not roller skating.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he plays them an instrumental of Girl, You Know It's True. And Frank asks them if they could lay down vocal tracks. And they're like, hell yes. Right?
Yeah.
They're super into it. And Girl, You Know It's True was originally written by a group in Baltimore called the Newmarks.
Okay.
And the song wasn't a hit in the US, but it was in like the German club, which is where Frank Farian must have heard it. So he signed Robin Fab and immediately named them Milli Vanilli.
Where did that even come from? He just made that shit up?
It was inspired by the band Scritti Politti.
I've never heard of this band.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They learned after signing that Frank had already chosen other vocalists to perform the song. So he told Robin Fab that he wanted them to lip sync during their first performance. And both of them were like shocked, but they had already signed the contract and they had been paid. And at the time, they were both like broke and like living in poverty. And they were each fronted like $5,000 or whatever and had
which would be a lot of fucking money.
It was for them. And they're like 20 years old, right?
Right.
So they told him that they didn't want to lip sync. And Frank was like, well, if that's the case, then you have to return the money. And so they decided together that they would do it for that one song and then figure out how to get out of the contract.
Okay.
So obviously, yeah, they're both 20. Neither of them had a lawyer or a manager. And they didn't know what they were signing. And they didn't realize that they had signed to do 3 albums with Frank Farian.
3 albums?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a lot. Especially considering that usually when you're a new artist like that and like your first like deal, like usually like that first record you've been working on like your whole career as a musician. And those next 2 records are so fucking hard because they want them like back to back to back. And all of a sudden you have to crank out like 20 more songs after you've like basically crafted the first 10 over like sometimes a decade or more.
Well, yeah. And I guess if they had been older or wiser, that would have been their first clue that Frank Farian already has 3 albums of tracks and they're not actually going to be singing anything.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah, this is like the naivete of 20-year-olds who don't understand what it means to sign a contract or what it means to like read a contract before you sign it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. So later that year, Girl You Know It's True was released in Europe and it was an instant hit.
Yeah,
So,
it's a fucking hit.
Uh-huh. And they're known for their good looks and their unique fashion sense. Do you remember how they wore like spandex bike shorts with blazers?
Yes.
Yeah,
totally like big blazers. It was big blazer time.
Yeah, shoulder pads.
That was the shoulder pad, but like big boxy blazers.
Big blazer time.
It was big. That was big blazer time. You remember back when big blazers were the thing. Like the bigger the better.
Mm-hmm. And skin tight shorts.
Yeah.
So next was Baby Don't Forget My Number.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. Rob and Fab told Frank that they wanted to make sure that they were the vocals on this track, but Frank told them no, it's already been recorded.
Of course.
And he continued to string them along, telling them that eventually they would get to sing. Yeah. So by the time this next song is released, Milli Vanilli is fucking huge. Fab told the LA Times that the tension that he felt as their fame skyrocketed was awful. Like his anxiety was through the roof.
Right, because they're lip syncing all this and he knows it.
Yeah, and not only that, but I think this is later in my notes, but they there was such an effort from their people to keep them from the media and the press because they could barely speak English. It would have been known right away that they were not singing.
Right.
So there was just this constant like, oh God, I can't even imagine the anxiety that they felt of like, we're going to get found out. Right. So the debut album, which included both of those tracks, was titled All or Nothing. It's a banger. Was released in Europe in September of '88. And the vocals on that track were actually John Davis, Charles Shaw, and Brad Howell. And they weren't credited anywhere on the album, not even as backup vocals.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wonder how much they got paid.
Oh, well, I'll tell you. So basically the real vocalists weren't cute. They were paid a studio fee, but they didn't get any royalties. And I think
of course not.
They believed they were doing session work.
Yeah.
Until they heard their own song. And they're like
on the fucking radio, in the fucking clubs.
Yeah. And
off the charts.
These guys are making millions.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So then in '89, Girl You Know It's True is released in the US with a music video. By this time, Frank Farian, Rob, and Fab had signed with Arista Records. And at the time, Arista Records president was Clive Davis. So Fab to this day maintains that Clive knew that it wasn't their vocals on that album.
He had to.
Yeah. Their manager, Todd Headley, told the LA Times in 1990 that everyone who worked closely with them at Arista knew, which is why there was always such an effort to keep them from speaking to the press.
Right. Which is why there was always like this air of mystery around Milli Vanilli. Because they never talked to anybody. You never saw them on a red carpet giving an impromptu interview. You never saw them on an MTV show talking to a VJ. Like none of that shit was going on.
Nope. It's like, how long do you think you can maintain that?
I mean, this guy really has like, that's ballsy, right? Like that is just really, really brazen for this producer guy.
Yeah. So they went on to have 3 #1 hits in the US. Blame It on the Rain, Girl, I'm Gonna Miss You.
Blame It on the Rain.
Yes, that was Fallen.
Oh, yes. Oh, Blame It on the Rain.
Oh my God. Do you remember? Okay, that music video, I'm pretty sure it was the bike shorts and the blazers, and they were dancing in the rain.
Yes.
It was so good.
Whoever actually wrote these songs, top notch. Yeah.
So Girl You Know It's True went multi-platinum.
Fuck yeah, it did.
Yeah. And Fab said that they both turned to drugs and alcohol to help with the shame and the anxiety that they both felt from this big secret.
Of course.
They had
what else were they going to do?
I know. They had to turn down appearances. They turned down an appearance by Arsenio Hall.
Oh, which at that time was like, you might as well have just told the president no.
Exactly. Like,
because the president had actually been on Arsenio.
Correct. Yep. Yep. Yeah, it was the most popular show, but they would have had to sing live. And so it was a no.
Yep.
Despite all this, there were still a few appearances when Rob and Fab spoke, and people started talking about how it was that they could, not speak English yet put out these records, but it was sort of just like, this is odd.
I wonder though, because I think about like there's a bunch of bands out of Europe from places like, I think like ABBA's a perfect example, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're a Swedish group, but they have like a bunch, all their songs are in English.
I know. I thought about this too. There's so many artists that have heavy, heavy accents and you wouldn't notice. But I think having a heavy accent is different than like you literally cannot communicate in English.
That's true.
But
you can still like learn to sing words. I mean, I was in choir. You were in choir. We sang shit in like languages we didn't speak.
That's
we
true.
Just learned how to say the words phonetically. We didn't know what they meant. Didn't fucking matter. When you're singing, you're just like making the sounds.
That's true. And Selena, I mean, everyone knows that she didn't actually really speak Spanish. And she had like the same fear of like, she would do press tours like in Mexico and not be able to communicate. And she was afraid of being like a fraudster.
Inauthentic.
Yeah.
Because she sang in Spanish, but she didn't speak Spanish.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So well,
they could have pulled it. They could have kept that going for a little longer than they thought they could.
They could have. And they did talk to the press, just very, very little. Like they're not going to sit down on Oprah for an hour.
Hell no.
But like a quick hi, thank you kind of,
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So Rob said that they hated doing interviews because the more they talked, the worse the rumor mill got.
Right.
In July of 89, this is so sad, while performing at a club for an MTV tour hosted by Downtown Julie Brown. Mm-hmm. And she's an unsung hero in this story. So I know the computer playing Girl You Know It's True started skipping during their performance.
No. Yeah, I remember that this is how it happened.
Okay, so it's repeated Girl You Know It's True like 20 times.
Oh no.
And for the first like 5 of them, Rob kept lip syncing and like tried to, I don't know, make it look like a remix. But when it didn't stop, he ran off stage.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then Downtown Julie Brown found him backstage, told him, get back out there. Nobody cares. You're great. It's okay. Finish your set.
No.
Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah. And even this at the time wasn't really the thing that outed them because it wasn't uncommon for there to be lip syncing at live shows, but obviously people were lip syncing to their own vocals. And so,
right. And also like, if you're doing, especially if you're like dancing a lot, like that kind of a performance, yes, you would, like you said, it's not uncommon to be lip syncing to yourself so that you can do all the hardcore dancing.
Yeah.
And still perform. Yeah.
And I think that's what people believed that's what was happening.
Right.
So after this oopsie daisy, Arista Records hired a dialect coach for Rob and Fab to help them with their English.
I mean, they could have done that a long time ago.
They could have, but also they're saying that they had no knowledge, but then they're hiring a dialect coach.
Right. So Arista Records maintains that they didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, fuckers.
That this was all Frank Farian.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he does get the lion's share of the blame here.
No, but I mean, they're all making millions. So
yeah, no, of course.
Yeah. So in December of 89, Charles Shaw, one of the real vocalists from Girl You Know It's True, spoke with Newsday in New York and said that him, John Davis, and Brad Howell were the vocals on Milli Vanilli's album. He had gone to the German press the year prior with this information, but apparently it didn't get any traction. He said that when he laid those vocals down in the studio, he was paid $6,000 for his work, and he thought he was just making a mix, like doing session work.
Yep.
He said, Frank Farian paid me for the studio work, but he didn't pay me to give my voice to 2 other guys to make millions.
Yep.
Ugh. So Newsday reached out to John Davis, but they couldn't reach him. And Brad denied the accusation. So I'm not sure.
The other vocalist?
Uh-huh.
Huh.
So I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on there.
Mm-mm.
Maybe he just didn't want to get caught up in the middle of it.
Maybe
it was...
Frank Farian reached him first and paid him hush money, or who knows?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
So Newsday reaches out to Frank Farian, and of course he denies it.
Of
and
course.
A rep for Milli Vanilli put out a statement that said they did lip sync at some of their live performances, but it was their vocals on the album.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm. In January of 1990, after these accusations, Milli Vanilli won 3 American Music Awards. And in February, they won Best New Artist at the Grammys.
Oh, no. Your face right now.
I know. I mean, they already have anxiety. And
this is just really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Uh-huh. Then in March, they were interviewed for Time magazine, and it was put on the record that Rob said, musically, we are more talented than any Bob Dylan, Paul McCartney, or Mick Jagger. I'm the new Elvis.
He said that?
Okay, well, here's the thing. So,
okay, tell me the thing.
People are fucking pissed, and they feel.
Yeah, I mean, this is like when John Lennon said the Beatles were bigger than Jesus, right?
I mean, yes. He
did. I'm pretty sure it was John Lennon that said that.
Yeah, probably. But he was like known to be not great.
And also, yeah. Anyway, let's not digress on John Lennon.
No.
Thing.
So people are fucking pissed, and but Fab tries to set the record straight. And he later said, Rob didn't really have a very good grasp of the English language, and that what he was trying to convey, that these are idols and he can't believe that they are being celebrated in the same circles as them.
That's probably true.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so by the summer of 1990, Rob and Fab were demanding that they be allowed to sing on their next album. And Frank agrees at first, but when it comes time to sign a contract, he said no.
The fuck, Frank? What is going on? Mm-hmm. It's already a fucking train wreck it's already like the train is going to wreck at any moment, and he's not. What is he doing?
I don't know. He's making millions. So yeah, he said he had already put together a new group of singers to lay down vocal tracks, and this new album was set to release in January of 1991.
New singers? So how? What? That? How are they going to sound like the first singers?
That's a great question.
Because let me tell you something. People have excellent ears for voices. Which is weird. I'm gonna rabbit hole for a second. So it's weird, right? Because I could stare at your fingerprint all day long, and then you could put your fingerprint somewhere, and I could look at it, and I would not be able to tell you that was your fingerprint.
Right?
I wouldn't be able to know that. But I can recognize your voice anywhere, and voices are like fingerprints. They can use voice tracks to identify people because our voices are so specific to us, right? And how many times have you been watching a commercial and you hear the voiceover and you know exactly who the voiceover is? Yeah, totally. And that's a fingerprint, an audio fingerprint you fucking recognize.
Yep.
And Frank's gonna go and just get new singers, and no one's gonna notice that they don't sound like the same people that sang on the last album.
That's a great question. That's a great question. And the thing is that Rob and Fab, they would not have. They are singers. They can sing. I don't know that they would have gone multi-platinum. To each their own in your taste of music, but they are singers and they're good.
Well, here's the thing. As long as they could sing, as long as they could sing at all, those tracks still would have gone because it's not really about the singers, right?
Mm-mm.
Like those songs were catchy. That's why they caught.
Yes.
That's why they were popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, anyway, so he tells them no, and this new album is set to release in January of 91. And Milli Vanilli's lawyer said that Frank Farian and Arista Records knew of Rob and Fab's deal that they would sing on the next album. They made this deal in January of 1990 before the Grammys, but a representative for Arista denied this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Rob and Fab told Frank that they refused to perform unless they could sing. So Frank fires Milli Vanilli. Yeah. And a week later, I know.
What is he going to replace Milli Vanilli with just two random black men? Like what?
Mm-hmm. Milli Vanilli. Shitty Skibbity or whatever. I don't know.
This is chaos.
This guy sucks
so much.
Yeah. Oh, so then in February of 1990, Frank Farian announces to the press that the rumors were true and that Milli Vanilli did not sing on their album. This fucking
motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I am so angry right now.
This guy sucks.
What a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hate him.
Uh-huh. And right after that, this is the first time this has ever happened in history. Their Grammy was taken away.
Oh.
I know. So Fab said that he was relieved.
Well, sure. Now he doesn't have to lie anymore. It's like, what a weight is. I mean, ultimately, yes. What a weight that's lifted.
Mm-hmm. Rob said that the last 2 years of their lives had been a total nightmare. He said, "We are singers, but Frank Farian never allowed us to sing. And Frank maintains that nobody at Arista knew."
So Frank and Arista are both saying no one at Arista knew.
I'm sorry, who the fuck is in the studio while these albums are being made?
You know, Frank got paid a lot of money, and Arista made a lot of fucking money. Mm-hmm. And they are both sticking to their story on this one.
Yep. Yeah. So that November, Rob and Fab appeared at a press conference. It's an hour-long press conference. This is the one I watched on YouTube.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Where was the press conference at?
I don't know where it was, but it was...
Was it in English or was it where the question...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was in English. And I mean, by this time, they're a few years in. Their English is better. The accents are still pretty heavy, and they are using some words that are like, you can tell what they're trying to say, even though it wasn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to watch because, so I know. So with them at their conference is their new vocal coach. And he starts off by praising their vocals. He then showed a video taken of Rob and Fab in the studio singing "Girl, You Know It's True" with their real voices.
And
it's not great, but it's not terrible.
Okay.
Then they answer questions from reporters. And one reporter asked, "How could you keep doing it for so long?" And Rob said that Frank Farian had promised that they would eventually be able to sing, and that they were both broke at the time, living in the projects in Munich. So they both apologized to the fans, but people are yelling at them. And towards the end of the conference, several reporters start demanding that they sing right now.
What? Dance for me. Dance. They're like shooting guns at their feet.
It's so awkward.
What the fuck?
So Rob stood up and grabbed the mic and started singing the chorus to "Girl, You Know It's True." And
no.
And then
not good.
No. And then Fab stands. He doesn't want to, but he doesn't want to leave him hanging. He stands up and starts doing the rapping part.
Oh no.
And it
Do
was,
they dance too?
no, but it wasn't good.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
So then in December of 91, so later that year, Rob had a late dinner with Fab and then returns to his hotel room and he takes a bunch of pills and then called the LA Times. He said, "Please, this is an emergency. I am committing suicide." He was slurring his words, but the dispatcher was able to make out that he was at the Mondrian Hotel. And so she called the medic. And when they arrived, Rob was dangling off of the railing of his balcony of his hotel. He was taken to the hospital and he survived.
Okay.
Rob and Fab released a new album and a music video for a song called "We Can Get It On." And it's okay-ish.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In 1995, Rob attacked someone with a lamp.
What?
I'm not sure. Then he got into another altercation and caused property damage. In February,
Rob's not doing very well.
Rob is spiraling out. In February of 96, he was arrested after breaking into a car and the owner hit him over the head with a baseball bat. Mm-hmm. TBI.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was sentenced to 90 days in jail in order to go to rehab. The following year, Rob and Fab, they're still working together on another album, and Frank Farian offers to help.
Fuck right the fuck off, Frank.
Well, he tells Rob that he will help him with his legal troubles if he can produce their next album.
What the fuck?
So
he threw them under the fucking bus.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What is going on right now?
Well, Rob says yes because he is in bad shape and needs help, but he's not loving this idea.
No.
Yeah. They did complete the album, but it was never released. In April of 98, Rob was found deceased in his hotel room from an overdose of drugs and alcohol. He was 33 years old.
Oh my God.
No.
It's just, I can't, I mean, I
this
knew
guy
that,
just, I know. Fucking Frank Farian.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of shit it's that ambitious, cutthroat shark shit that just leaves like people's lives destroyed in the process for the sake of his own fucking, I mean, just for the sake of his own fucking bank account. Frank's not even famous. He's not out on stage. He's just making money off the fucking lives of other people. Yeah, totally. It's so weird because Michael and I, we had a photo shoot today. Let me tell you my last two sentences and then I'll circle back. So, Fab, he continues to make music as a session musician and a solo act. And he even tours with John Davis, who was one of the original vocalists from the album. Oh my God, cute. I know. I love that. And that's the story of Milli Vanilli. Fucking poor Rob. I know. God. Photo shoot. You and Michael were talking about something. We were talking about sex trafficking. Don't ask me how we got on that. But this reminds me of that, where it's like, or like Jeffrey Epstein, where you take people who are down and out and you promise them fame. And promise them the world, whatever that looks like. And it's so fucking, oh my God. It's so sad. It's predatory. It is predatory. So These are predators. Mm-hmm. These are predators. When people are young and broke, and they don't know any better. Yes. And you take advantage of that. Yeah. And you fucking leverage whatever you can against them. And yeah. It's because I listened to the 3-part series that's on Amazon Prime right now about Jared Fogle, the subway guy. The subway guy? Yeah. Ew. And they're talking about like one of the really popular ways even now for sex trafficking is like being approached at the mall. Like, have you ever thought of modeling? Oh yeah, and totally. Like, it just playing to young girls like, oh my God, like I could maybe be a star and I'm special and I'm, it's so fucking predatory. Ugh. Oh God. These poor guys. I know. I know. So what the fuck with Frank though? Like he just kept working. Like, did he have any other people that was like were hits because of him?
There was, I wanted to list off some of the lawsuits because there was lawsuits, but it was
good.
It was so massive and so convoluted and so many countersuits. Like it was like the worst flowchart I've ever seen. And I was like, I can't even wrap my head around what's happening.
I just want to know in the end if Frank finally got his.
I think he financially got his. Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Arista didn't, though. Arista's fine, right?
No, I think Arista paid out something, but still maintained that they had no knowledge, but like,
sure,
here you go, leave us alone, kind of thing.
Which totally.
They
absolutely.
Totally could. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, sister. That was not a wild romp.
No, that wasn't funny. That was sad.
Yeah, that was really sad and
really fucking. Oh,
yeah.
I was going to say, we're not there yet.
No.
I'm upset. I'm sorry.
I know, it's okay.
What I was going to say to some of our younger listeners or, older is go listen to some Milli Vanilli.
Go listen to some
Milli Vanilli. It's fucking, you know what? Go watch some Milli Vanilli because those guys were good dancers. Beautiful faces.
Guys.
Yeah.
Beautiful men.
They were legitimately talented and did not deserve that.
No, they did not. And you know what? You can blame it on the rain.
Blame it on the rain. Always.
Blame it on the rain. Sister, thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And thank you for another awesome episode. You guys can follow us on all the things. We're on the Book of Faces and in the gram and the Twitters, and you can follow me on Twitter, and we have a website. And if you want to talk to us, you can send us mail. Love letters go to Amber. Hate mail goes to me. They all go to the same inbox, which is at crimewineandchaos@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Patreon. Get yourself a membership to the club. And I think that's all the things.
That's all the things. Yeah.
And that really was fucking chaotic.
Bye. Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Paul Abner. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at crimewineandchaos.com/Patreon. Cheers!